Hello, I'm Brian, and welcome to my deep dive into the sixth, or is it the seventh album by the church? It is Gold Afternoon Fix, an album that came out in 1990, just 2 years after the behemoth that was Starfish, and it's been much maligned ever since. Some people have thought that because of the title Gold Afternoon Fix, that the band were into the heavy drugs and the heroin. Not yet. Gold Afternoon Fix was about the price that gold was fixed at overnight. And it was interesting that they started this process with the thought that maybe John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin would be producing this album. I mean, dare to dream, how good would that have been? Certainly, I don't know that there would have been any drum machines on the album. But no, they went back to the team of, well, Waddy Wachtel was on board and with Arista Records. And what the Arista Records demanded from the band was that they record all the songs as demos before going into the studio proper in LA to record the album. And this, a lot of people have suggested, have given the songs maybe a stale quality that they've been underdone or overdone, should I say, and they don't have that spark that the church used to ignite themselves during the creative period. But anyway, they went into Fat Boy Studios in Sydney to record all the demos, and herein we had a problem immediately because Steve Kilbey was more interested in recording his own solo album, Remindlessness. And I'm going to just read to you briefly, if I can, from his great autobiography, Something Quite Peculiar. And there's a lovely autograph from SK right there. But he says in it, I embarked on the feverish recording of Remindlessness, which I worked on any hour I wasn't working on the church. It's easy to see what got the best of my attention. Remindlessness is rich in all the things that Gold Afternoon Fix is lacking. Imagination, love, inspiration. I poured it all into Remindlessness and saved the dross for Gold Afternoon Fix. What a stupidly moronic thing to do. Well, I'm not sure about that because I have Remindlessness. I love Remindlessness, but I'm not sure that I put any studio album by SK above one of the church albums, even though this is a bit of a magnum opus. Also really adore Narcosis. But there was another problem, and it was the problem that we've spoken about before in terms of drums. This time it's not the drum sound. Well, it is the drum sound, but it's the lack of a drummer. Richard only plays on 4 tracks on the album. The rest, we have drum machines or we have loops of Richard playing. And that probably isn't too good. That was a decision that Marty called the worst in the band's history. And yeah, can you imagine that would have happened if John Paul Jones was in the producer's seat? I don't think so. But Waddy had a new drum machine apparently. Also, I believe there's no 12 strings on the album, although I seem to be able to hear a couple, but that's me and my hearing problems, because apparently Marty's guitar had 12-string guitar was stolen on the previous tour. But still, having said this, let's ask the question, is Gold Afternoon Fix a stinker, which gives you that sinking feeling? Is it a major gaff, a G-A-F-F-E, Gold Afternoon Fix F-E, and Fe is the chemical symbol for iron, I believe. God knows where that came from or what it's worth to us. Or is it indeed a classic church album which should stand the test of time and be held up in the pantheon of greats? Well, let's get along with a deep dive and find out. Side 1 opens with the majestic Pharaoh, and I'm pleased to report there are real drums on offer here. The mysticism of the opening recalls ancient Egypt, and there are dire moments of tyranny awaiting as Kilbey launches into a scathing critique of the music industry, biting the hand that seems to have fed him really well over the past 18 months, 2 years. He says, "Hi to all the people that are selling me. Here's one straight from the factory." And there are ominous, chilling overtones and then thrums of acoustic guitar, which lend an atmosphere to the eeriness of the opening. And then he sings, "One big man with the good connection takes the whole damn ship in the wrong direction. I don't mind him misinterpreting me. I hate it when he gets us lost out to sea." Probably recalling or talking about Mike Lembo, their manager, who'd be gone before too long. But There are warning signs here. There's a cowbell alert. I hear one, so I'm thinking that not all is well behind the drums and on the drum chair. Cowbell alerts must be taken seriously. But now, so we've got that ominous feeling there, and let's contrast it to the joyous song that is Metropolis. But there's a bit of sweetness to this song, and it's as though it's hearkening back to more joyous days rather than celebrating the joyous days of today. And that's a theme that goes throughout the album, that there are things that are not quite right with the present, but we can easily get back to them in the past if we just try. And Kilbey sings, "It's only a day away. We could leave tonight. You could sleep along the way and dream in black and white." It's a beautiful single that doesn't really have the hook to be a massive hit, but still it's a lush pop song. I'm not sure how I feel about the rhythm and word choice in the chorus of "Back in Metropolis, nothing can ever topple this." Genius or gibberish? I don't know. Let's call it genius for the time being, which moves us on to, there's the beautiful mandolin from Pete throughout Metropolis as well. Let's now move on to Terra, Cain, track 3 on the album, written by Steve and Marty. And on my 2001 pressing, which is clear with a black swirl, there's a couple of issues here, because on side 1, Monday Morning's missing, and on side 2, Laughing is missing. And that's egregious to me. Now, I've often thought, what would I lose to put those songs back on? Well, I'd certainly shorten or consider losing Terra, Cain, because there's nothing wrong with this song. It's pretty cool, and the guitar riff that opens this up is absolutely magnificent. Primarily, I really like this song, and it has a drama, and perhaps the chorus does feel a little bit trite. The instrumental build-up before the second chorus is really cool. It's so dramatic. It's a high point of the song, but I only need it once on the song. And some of the lyrics, though, they return us to that sexy SK from Sing Songs. She said, "Will you help with our research?" I said, "Take me to your leader." She put her foot down on the oscillator pedal. She was a trans-dimensional speeder. However, I do appreciate the importance of sequencing, and this song does segue us beautifully into the next song, City, which is a floating gem of a pop song with ethereal tones and a whispering light delivery from Steve on the vocals. I really enjoy the drum rolls from the faux Richard, along with the lovely flourishes and touches from the two guitarists. The outro is an exquisite jam, which just sets up the next song beautifully if it was on the vinyl. Great lyrics. There, smoke turns into serpents in the air. Beware, there's no sanctuary anywhere. On this very spot, a great city stood. It oozed with evil, but it felt so good. Well, I don't know. Where did it go? And this kind of ties back into Pharaoh and going into that ancient mysticism as well. So, ironically, on Monday Morning, the next track, we have real drums. And this song is so beautiful and so reminiscent of a ballad like by the Velvet Underground from their third album, or even from Velvet Underground and Nico, maybe Sunday Morning. It should never have been erased from the album, in my opinion. I'm no audiophile, but I think those sumptuous guitars sound like 12 strings, along with the mandolins that underpin what is a perfect gem of a pop song. Beautiful lyrics. Beyond the city and evening dust, dreams and thunder rattle the rust. You had an idea that you won't have again. She's forgotten your name and hopes you'll do the same. The start of the ash and the end of the flame, burning you, turning you. Oh, Monday morning, the cracks become quite clear. Oh, Monday morning, take me back, leave me here. And the next song is what I've been waiting for since Tantalized an album and a half ago, and it is the song Russian Autumn Heart. And it's sung on this occasion by Marty. And I think it's the greatest Marty song that has ever been put on a church album. It totally kicks. The rhythm guitar is brutally insane. How do you do it, Marty? I have no idea, and I perfectly understand why you always say that you can't perform it anymore live, because how would you do this song like in a one-person or a two-person show? The bass line's killer. The song is killer all the way through, but the highlight to me is in the middle section, which almost cuts to silence. And it's like you've been plunged into an ocean full of water and you're looking around, you're almost drowning. But above, you can just spot the surface, and so you swim to it. And it's exemplified by those beautiful drums building up under the feedback of Marty's guitar. And then you break into the savior of the fresh air and above you, and you take a lungful of breath. And the song returns, coming out with the inspirational improvisation with a flourish of 12 string. And the song, the way that it comes back into the vocals now, is just absolutely spine tingling. And you can hear, and another beautiful touch is that you can hear the toying of the toggle switch right at the end as the song fades away. A total highlight of the album. Wish it was still played to this day live. Titanic Howard Hughes, an aimless king, always spoiling the best things you've done. And now we come to Essence. And this is a song which I really absolutely adore as well. And Kilbey's got this amazing opening line of, "The universe is female, eluding the science of men." How good is that for just an attention-grabbing, really engaging opening line? This features one of the most meltdown jams and mind-bending improvisations that the band has ever done in the outro. The song's all jingle-jangle guitars, flurries of power chords, and feedback over the memorable lyrics. That's the only thing that's missing here is a wonderful chorus, though who ever would have thought about chucking the word acquiescence into a chorus? Well, Steve Kilbey would have, that's for sure. There are such obvious references to You Took here, particularly in the solo section, where you feel as though the band comes right down only to build it up again. And this is about as close to You Took, particularly in the outro, that I reckon they ever got to ever again after that album. Although, as I go through these deep dives, I'm very prepared to be proven wrong on this, and I hope to be proved wrong. Anyway, that's side one. What an awesome side of music. I absolutely love it so far, and I like it more than Starfish. Okay, let's flip over to side two. And as we drop the needle down on side two, we're smacked in the face with a guaranteed, bona fide, surefire hit single in You're Still Beautiful. But it never cut through. It never had the success that I think it deserved. I mean, was it because they used the word in there that could have been censored, or was it because it was the story of a character who's over the hill and is now much maligned, perhaps like Kilbey? But you know what I mean. Is that the reason that the record buying public wasn't interested in that sort of subject matter? Still, there's a jauntiness and a poppiness to the opening to this. It just hops along beautifully with that beautiful guitar line, fantastic bass. Absolutely, I love it. It's killer all the way through. And that middle section breakdown, which goes into the guitar overdrive and feedback section before building up its intensity with Faux Richard on the drums doing the bam 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 bam. I think it's one of the stunning moments in the church oeuvre, totally. It's all floor toms and snares, but it ain't Richard. Oh my God. It's got one of Steve's grooviest bass lines of all time. And the lyrics are superb all the way through. Well, once upon a time, I would have killed for you. I'm sorry that you got in this mess, but you're the walking picture of Dorian Gray. At least it's artistic, I guess. I guess. Oh, wow. Maybe is this a guilty pleasure for me, like she never said off the first album? Do other people like this song as well? I hear it getting a bit of stick. Anyway, let's move on to the next song. And the next song does have real drums. Why would have real drums on this song, which sounds like it doesn't have real drums? And we're talking, of course, about Disappointment, and not have them on the previous song? I don't know. Anyway, Disappointment would be my second contender for a song that I would leave off so I could reinstall or put Monday Morning and Laughing back on the album. And not just because of the song itself, which the only question I have about this song is it might be a bit overlong. But it's basically because of the drum sounds that they use and the drum machines they use over the tops of Richard's playing. They sound cheesy. They sound of the 80s rather than the 90s. And those are the sorts of awful sounds that I was using when I was playing bars, clubs, and brasseries back in the day. And I don't need to hear them anymore. Still, it's a sublime song, and it's a beautiful, touching ballad. The chorus, late for an appointment, clothes everywhere. I cannot find my memory anywhere. Ah, disappointment just doesn't care, off in the distance, just waiting there. It's sumptuous and yearning and wistful, and would not be out of place, I believe, in McCartney's song suite on the second side of Abbey Road. It's that good. So how could I leave it off the album? And we then have the return of the classical guitar motif of Almost With You from the Blue Crusade, except this time it's One Take Marty who's doing it. And here's the thought. So why don't we remove the last 2 minutes of this song, maybe 2 minutes of Terra, Cain, and then we can get both laughing and Monday Morning on as well and keep everything. Well, how would that be? Anyway, Pete has a vocal up next, and it's an absolute killer. This could have been a real piece of 1960s pure pop psych. It's called Transient, and it's a great vocal. And speaking of people getting maligned, he gets maligned all the time, but I find this is a vocal full of emotion and expression. And the line here for now really takes us back into that yearning idea, the idea of yearning for the past, but we're here for now, and the transient nature of life. It really pops along this number, and I love the guitar solo, especially the synthesizer which underpins it. It really gives it a nice texture to the moment. And this is followed by the pastoral stylings of Laughing, which harkens back to the mood and feel of some of those numbers on the first side, like Monday Morning, City, and Essence. There's a simplicity to this arrangement which elevates it to the sublime, and the chorus lifts us to a new dimension. All exquisite songwriting skills on display here, yet this was a song they took off the album for the repress. I know both one side's like 27 minutes, but the other side's only about 24. We've got room to work with. And in Fading Away, the next track, we have a perfect slice of pure power pop. Well, it's not power pop, it's a dreamy psyche gem. It's almost by an enrichment of an embarrassment of riches by this point at how strong and wonderful this album is, and there's still a classic yet to come. I especially like the twisted psych interplay between the lead guitar of Peter and the jingle jangle in the chorus before it resolves itself with Fading Away on the vocals. Gorgeous. And I love the cohesiveness, again, lyrically in this album as well. And the line that jumps out to me was, "Who's there to say that we're living this moment? Feels like I'm in a play. The sets and the props of this your apartment seem to be fading away, fading away." It just ties in beautifully with the previous lyrics of Peter in Transient. The final track, Grind, seems like the big statement that needs to be made at the end of the album. It has the word epic written all over it. And it's sort of like, for this reason, this epic nature of it, that like Hotel Room from Starfish, it took me a long time to get into it and really appreciate it. And maybe it has to do with my audiophile ears finally rebelling against the production. I'm not sure what it is, but it took me a long time to get into it. And Marty has issues with the production as well. If I can read to you from No Certainty Attached, the Robert Dean Lurie biography of the Kilbey and the Church, Marty says, "Grind was a fantastic recipe that was really badly cooked using a lot of synthetic vegetables when the fresh vegetables were left in the cupboard." It starts off with one of those great puns. The wine in your hand is worth two at the bar, and everybody knows what you've been drinking. Now, I always thought this was WINE, worth two at the bar. Bird in hand is worth two in the bush. But no, it sort of gets even more obtuse than that when it's WHINE, the wine, the complaining in your hand is worth two at the bar, and everybody knows what you've been drinking. Slightly disingenuous, I think, but still, it's pretty cool. But then we lift in intensity and rise majestically to the chorus. Long distance century buzzes and fades. I wonder why you've not resigned. Previews, processions, and parades. You've got to grind it out. And to me, it's a little bit ironic that after suggesting that the band didn't really put in all of its energy and all of its enthusiasm into this album, why the album finishes with the idea of grinding it out, as though you've got to really work hard to get the success. I don't know. Maybe the other band members felt differently. Who knows? The ascending guitar riffs that Marty plays throughout are absolutely stupendous, particularly in the solo, as are the heavily vibrato notes, which give it that real psychedelicized feel to it. It's then followed by the breakdown to just the piano of Peter, I think it would be, and Steve. And these vocals here are a moment of pure retrospection for both of them as we build to the impending chaos of the closing chorus. And at that moment, Steve's vocals have never sounded so fragile and delicate, which sort of ties us up to that word and texture painting that he would get vocally on Priest Equals Aura. So this song is a powerhouse, often used live in concerts live to finish at the time, and one which demands our attention. It's an absolute classic at the end of a church album. So what we have here are two sides full, for me, of classic church songs. So what are we going to do? Disparage the album further? Nah, we're going to flip it over and play it again. So how do we evaluate this album, Gold Afternoon Fix by the Church? Now, I'm not foolish enough to say that it's a more important album than Starfish, but it is a top 5 church album for me. And I kind of had this idea with Starfish that album was riding a wave of zeitgeist, which was up and down and huge and mountainous. And at the end of that wave, when the zeitgeist was gone, the church went to record Gold Afternoon Fix, and they returned the band to the ones who truly love them. And idiots like me who didn't realize that there were drum machines all over this album. But does that invalidate my opinion? I don't think so. I mean, why are we still relitigating this? It's the church. It's Gold Afternoon Fix. It's a classic. So there. But I've really enjoyed, as I always do, going back to listen to this album. It's given me a lot of pleasure. And remember that if music of any style, shape, sound, or substance, or Starfish gives you pleasure, then who am I to argue with your opinion? And I truly believe that. If you've enjoyed this video, have a think about hitting a like or maybe subscribe, because I know you want to. But until next time, I hope you're doing really well. Keep cool, and bye now.